Hey guys, today I want to talk to you about something that I think is pretty interesting. A lot of people have asked, should I learn Angular 1 or AngularJS? If you're not really too familiar with the Angular framework, it's a JavaScript framework, and there's basically two versions. There's AngularJS, or version 1.x, they're up to 1.6.5 at the time of this video, and then there's Angular 2 Plus. And the reason they're saying, well, what's the big difference? Well, they basically re-architected the whole thing. So if you learned Angular 1, you're not going to really, you're going to be familiar with some of the concepts in Angular 2, but it's a whole new beast. It's not backwards compatible, and a lot of things have changed about the way that it works, basically. So, but that's for another conversation. The question that we're going to be answering today, or we're going to be talking about, discussing, if you will, and I want to know your thoughts about it in the comments below, right? Because I'm not the end-all, be-all. It's just my opinion based off what I've seen and my experience in the workplace. But should you learn AngularJS, or Angular 1 rather? Should you learn it? And the question is maybe, right? As is the situation for a lot of things in life. Nothing is black or white. So some of the pros and the cons to learning Angular 1. Well, the pros to learning Angular 1 is that as it is being phased out, and a lot of companies are still using Angular 1, but there is legacy code already for Angular 1, right? There are projects that are wrapping up that are being built in Angular 1. And so it is something that has a lower learning curve, in my opinion, compared to the newer versions of Angular. They're on version 4 right now. So for the newer version of Angular 4, that has a much higher learning curve than Angular 1 does. So if you want to build something or learn a new library, that's going to potentially be helpful if you're okay maintaining legacy code, or okay kind of jumping mid-tier into projects. It's a great framework for you to pick up. It also is going to be much more familiar than Angular 4 is. I'm making that comparison because that's really the one that you need to make. You can make the comparison with React, but that's a separate video. Now, what are some of the cons of learning AngularJS? Well, not everybody wants to work with legacy tech, right? When you're working with older stuff, even if you get a job in it now, the web development timeline, if you will, is constantly changing, and what's okay for you to learn now may not be in 3-4 years. And not everybody is the type of person who wants to go home and have to learn new framework, learn new build tools, learn new this, learn new that. And I can respect that to a degree. Granted, you're going to have to be learning every day, but they may say, look, man, I want to learn the newer stuff so I don't have to learn something brand new next week or next year, right? And so that's kind of a con of it. Also, you might be competing with a lot of more experienced developers who are of that same mindset, especially if you're just getting started, right? So one thing I've talked about with learning newer technologies that older developers aren't taking the time to learn. And part of that is, I feel like at some point, a lot of developers, they say, look, I have a massive skill set. I don't want to have to go out and pull all these new skills. So I'll just keep working in the stack that I have, and that's okay. So an edge you can have is working in the latest and greatest technologies, and Angular 1 is not the latest and greatest, right? And I think that's a fair statement to say. Now, I personally love it, right? I work in AngularJS at my current work, and I've been learning so much about frameworks and the designing frameworks and working within it, and I think that it is something that you could probably devote a month or 2 weekends to, rather, and build out a couple projects. When I originally learned AngularJS, the way that I did it was in about a 2 to 3 week period, I did the Codecademy section on Angular, and then I went over and I watched Derek Bonas, who has 4 videos, I think totaling about 3 hours or so of content, and then I built my very first website, which in Angular, which is codingtutorials360.com, and this was my Angular project, and this taught me how to use things like filters. Right here is a limit to filter, which limits how much character comes out of the description, concatenates it with a ... This also uses the HTTP service in Angular to do AJAX calls and things like that, as well as down here to pull my channel statistics. So look at that, Illuminati 555. But anyhow, this was something that after just doing, probably spending about I'd say it probably was about 4 hours on the Codecademy course and about 4 to 5 hours on the Derek Bonus videos, I was able to get enough of an understanding to go and build a simple website for my YouTube channel that I eventually would go and build a portfolio, use as a portfolio item for that. And I think that's one of the things that you could do if you're trying to, I'm not saying devote all your energy to learning AngularJS. What I'm saying is that if you want to add a somewhat marketable skill to your resume, AngularJS is something that you could probably pick up in a weekend or two. In my case, to get from doing knowing no Angular, to building this website, I would say the total turnaround was probably 3 weekends worth of work. And you may be a better developer than I am, and you could probably do it in a weekend or whatever it is, or maybe a little bit longer. But for me, at the point in my time, that's what it took. But I think it's something that's very doable and very, very, very fun. And funny thing about this is I noticed I've swapped out this image for this background. I didn't even notice that there's someone's name on here from this stock image I got. My name is Lee Campbell. Anyhow, funny little thing. Every time I look at it now, I can't avoid it. But one thing, if you want to give yourself kind of an edge, I would ask you to look at it and say, all right, well, how can I make sure that I'm using the latest and greatest in terms of the AngularJS framework, Angular 1 framework? I would have you look into Angular-UI. Angular UI is a very common, they call it companion suite, basically a add-on to Angular, a plugin, if you will, of various components. One of the most notable ones would be UI router, or one of the reasons I went from Angular 1 to Angular 2 was that nested views, or essentially how you would have your logic display in the template, you could really only have one at a time going with all your logic. And so that became an issue, as well as some SEO issues and all that sort of stuff. But my suggestion is that if you are looking to spice up your applications, if you're looking to add I don't want to say simple, because AngularJS isn't necessarily simple, but it is very doable to get the basics down in a very short amount of time, that you should look into AngularJS to maybe create one solid portfolio item in it, so that if you do come across maybe that job or that project, you could actually say, you know what, I don't have any professional experience in AngularJS, but I have built this website and as a kind of learning material, because I have been spending the time to learn it, and I've also used Angular UI router and talk about that and how that uses states. And the UI router might take you more time, because that's a very, you shouldn't really be jumping around too much, but this is something that you could add into that if needed. Or I just wanted to make known for you, because they do have a lot of cool stuff, such as slider, uploader, validate, scroll, a lot of these things. And other Bootstrap components. So I encourage you to check that out. That's angular-ui.github.io for that. But in terms of should you learn AngularJS, it depends on where you're at and what you're comfortable with. Like at the time when I was looking at jobs, I saw AngularJS everywhere, but that was like a year ago, right? And now I think people are kind of expecting for newer developers to be on that Angular 4 hype train or in that React hype train. But if you just want to spend a weekend learning something new, you could probably build some small projects in AngularJS pretty quickly, and it might just help open doors for you that weren't there before, or opportunities that, maybe he's not the perfect candidate, or she, but he's learning, and he has various, and it shows that it's another thing that shows that you're constantly learning. In my regards, is maybe before you landed jQuery, you didn't know where to go, and you're not quite sure if React is it or Angular 4 is beyond you right now, and so you say, okay, let me spend some time playing around with AngularJS, and maybe I can get a QA role helping fix legacy code or whatever it may be. But to summarize it just depends. It's an easy thing that I think you can learn, and right now, part of the reason for it is there's tons of documentation. Angular 1's been out for 7-8 years. maybe more. And so there's a lot of sites out there that are built in this that they will need people to maintain the sites. They will need people to still build plugins and build additional features for these web applications. And not everybody has those skills, or not everybody wants to learn a little bit older technologies. Like me, I'm learning React Native, Redux, and I'm also learning Angular 4. I like to be playing with the latest stuff, and I work with this at my current work. And so it just depends on where you're at and what you want to do. But I think it is something that a lot of people could pick up pretty quickly, specifically because of all that documentation. But I wouldn't devote all your time to it. I would say more so learn it, right? Work with it, build something in it, and then perhaps move on would be probably how I'd summarize it. But that's my thoughts on whether you should learn Angular 1 or not. I really do enjoy it, though. The Angular 4, it's a whole nother beast, and as I dive deeper into the front to back Angular 4 Traversing Media course, I will give more details as I become more familiar. Right now, my attention is on the React course. Speaking of the React course, let's give one of those away. So we're going to be giving away a React course, and the key word for today is, don't forget you have to like and be subscribed, as well as use the keyword in a comment down below, which will be AngularJS, man. So if you guys want a free React course, use AngularJS, and we'll choose a winner a few days after that. I'm usually doing it by Sunday, so you'll see something saying, hey, congratulations, you won. What's your email? So I can send you the link. A lot of you guys haven't been responding back to the emails, and so I haven't been able to send you your courses. Please promptly respond back to the comments when you can, guys. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to join our Facebook group, Code Tech Caffeine, and our Discord channel, all that great stuff. I appreciate you guys watching, man. It's a pleasure to be able to talk about things I care about, and you know, it's one of those things where years ago I didn't know who I could, I didn't know about coding meetups. I didn't know about where to go to get better, to answer these questions, or to ask questions and get answers, or even just to have theoretical conversations. And I'm glad I get to do it on YouTube, and I can see everybody's input. And even if you don't like what I have to say, or you disagree, I'd like to see those comments so that I can question my own thought processes and my own thought patterns and go from there. But so with that being said, guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Special thanks to our sponsors, Dev Mountain. If you're looking for a coding bootcamp where tuition and housing is included, definitely check them out. Appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.